For millions of retirees across America, every single month revolves around one date, the moment that Social Security checks land in their bank accounts. It's the difference between comfort and sacrifice, between filling a prescription and skipping it, between a pantry that's stocked and one that echoes with emptiness. Now, as we step into 2025, a major development is sending shockwaves through the senior community. A Social Security increase that is being described as both a much needed relief and a wake up call about the economic realities of aging in the United States. Seniors who depend on these checks are asking one urgent question: how much more money will actually be added to their benefits? And will it truly make a difference in their day to day lives? The headlines sound promising, but the devil, as always, is in the details. The annual adjustment, known as the Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA, is designed to ensure that benefits keep pace with inflation. In theory, it's a safeguard against rising costs, but in practice, many seniors have felt shortchanged in recent years as prices for groceries, gas, housing, and healthcare have ballooned faster than the government's formulas seem to acknowledge. For 2025, the Social Security Administration has confirmed a new increase, and the numbers are sparking intense conversations. On the surface, an increase of over 3% might not sound like life-changing money, but when applied across the nearly 70 million Americans receiving benefits, it translates to billions of additional dollars flowing into households nationwide. For the average retiree, the increase means roughly an extra $60 to $75 per month, depending on their current benefit level. That might not seem like a fortune, but consider this. It's the equivalent of covering a week's worth of groceries for a single person, or the copay for multiple prescription medications, or even just a little extra breathing room at the end of the month. For couples, the increase could mean $120 to $150 more each month, enough to help offset rising utility bills or put a dent in property taxes. Still, while many seniors welcome any bump in their checks, the frustration remains that the COLA feels more like a patch than a solution. Inflation doesn't hit everyone equally. A retiree who lives in a city where rent has surged by 15% in a single year feels the squeeze differently than someone whose mortgage is long paid off. Similarly, healthcare costs, which disproportionately affect older Americans, often climb much faster than the general inflation index used to calculate COLA. That means while the headline number is celebrated, many seniors will tell you it still doesn't reflect the reality of their expenses. And here's where the story gets even more complicated. Experts warn that the 2025 increase could reignite debates in Washington about the future solvency of the Social Security program itself. With the trust fund projected to face serious shortfalls in just over a decade, each annual increase adds fuel to political battles over how to preserve the system for future generations. Some lawmakers argue that the COLA should be adjusted using a different measure, one that better reflects senior spending patterns, especially medical costs. Others counter that such changes could accelerate the depletion of reserves. So, seniors are caught in the middle of a tug of war between relief today and sustainability tomorrow. But let's cut through the noise and talk about the human side of this story. For a 72-year-old widow living on a modest monthly benefit, the 2025 increase could mean she no longer has to choose between buying fresh produce or sticking to canned goods. For a veteran in his late 60s managing a fixed income, that extra check padding could cover a portion of heating costs in the dead of winter. And for many grandparents raising grandchildren, a surprisingly common situation today, that bump in Social Security could provide just enough to keep the household afloat. These aren't just numbers on a page, they're lifelines. At the same time, financial planners caution seniors not to view the increase as free money. Rising Medicare premiums, which are often deducted directly from Social Security payments, could eat into the gains. In fact, some retirees may find that their net increase is far smaller than expected once healthcare costs are factored in. And then there's the reality that the psychological boost of getting a raise can sometimes encourage extra spending, when the wiser move might be to use the added funds for savings or debt reduction. This balancing act leaves seniors both hopeful and wary, grateful for the bump, but acutely aware that it doesn't solve the larger crisis of retirement security in America. So, when you hear that Social Security checks are increasing in 2025, don't just think about percentages and averages. Think about the millions of lives affected, the kitchen tables where bills are sorted and budgets are stretched, the quiet sighs of relief when just a little more money shows up in the account. Because behind every statistic lies a story. And this year's adjustment is shaping up to be one of the most closely watched and hotly debated changes in recent memory. But here's the twist that no one wants to talk about. While the Social Security increase for 2025 is being hailed as a win for seniors, the reality is that for many, it may already be swallowed up by the relentless rise in living costs before the first boosted check even hits their bank account. Picture this: grocery prices are still climbing, with staples like bread, eggs, and milk creeping higher week after week. Renters are seeing landlords tack on extra hundreds of dollars at lease renewal, and homeowners are groaning under the weight of property insurance premiums that have doubled in some states. Then there's healthcare, the silent budget killer. Seniors face skyrocketing costs for prescription drugs, long-term care, and supplemental insurance plans, often rising much faster than the general inflation rate. So while the government's official announcement might make it sound like retirees are getting ahead, many will feel like they're simply running in place, fighting just to maintain the status quo. And yet, there's no denying the emotional impact of the increase. For millions, it represents acknowledgement, proof that the system recognizes the struggle. Financial experts stress that retirees should use this moment not just as a sigh of relief, but as a chance to reassess their financial strategies. That could mean reviewing Medicare plans to minimize out-of-pocket costs, adjusting budgets to account for hidden expenses, or even seeking out part-time work or side income to stretch those benefits further. In fact, the Social Security increase is sparking broader conversations about retirement in America, conversations that go far beyond the dollars and cents of a monthly check. Younger generations are watching closely, realizing that what's happening today foreshadows the future they'll inherit. If the system feels strained now, what will it look like in 10, 20, or 30 years when today's workers are ready to retire? The debate over Social Security's future isn't just political theater, it's personal, and it touches every household in America. And with the 2025 increase shining a spotlight on these issues, the pressure on lawmakers to deliver meaningful reform is greater than ever. Yet, in the middle of all this, there's another piece of the puzzle that seniors need to understand: taxes. That's right. Many retirees don't realize that their Social Security benefits can be taxed depending on their overall income. That means some portion of the shiny new increase could end up going right back to Uncle Sam. For retirees who rely on part-time jobs, pensions, or investment income in addition to Social Security, this tax wrinkle can come as an unpleasant surprise, effectively reducing the net impact of the COLA. Financial planners are already warning clients to prepare for this possibility, urging them to consider tax strategies to minimize the bite. Still, despite these complications, there's no denying that the Social Security increase is welcome news in households across the country. Think of a retired teacher finally able to afford the rising cost of her heart medication without skipping a dose. Think of a grandparent able to put a little more gas in the tank to visit family without stressing over every mile. Think of the dignity that comes from knowing you can pay the bills with a bit more breathing room. These aren't luxuries, they're basic human needs, and for too many seniors, they hang in the balance month after month. That's why the 2025 increase is such a big deal. Not because it solves every problem, but because it buys a little more time, a little more stability, a little more peace of mind. And yet, the question remains, how long can the system keep up? Economists warn that unless major reforms are enacted, the Social Security Trust Fund could face depletion in the early 2030s, potentially leading to benefit cuts if Congress doesn't act. That looming reality casts a long shadow over every annual COLA announcement, including this one. Will future generations of retirees enjoy the same safety net, or will the system collapse under its own weight? For now, seniors can celebrate the fact that their 2025 checks will be bigger, even if only slightly. But the larger conversation about retirement security is just beginning, and it's one that every American, young or old, needs to join. Because if Social Security is the backbone of retirement in this country, then it's a backbone that desperately needs strengthening. The increase for 2025 is a reminder of both the promise and the peril of the system. It can provide relief, but it cannot, on its own, solve the deep financial challenges of aging in America. So as seniors eagerly wait for those slightly larger checks to arrive, the rest of the nation should be asking hard questions about what comes next. Will the next generation have the same promise of support, or will they be left to fend for themselves? The Social Security increase of 2025 is more than just a number. It's a warning flare, a wake-up call, and a glimpse into the future of one of the most critical programs in American life.